Welcome to Crown TV. Immerse yourself with a captivating audio from our stories. We provide an alternative way to read books in audio. We upload many audiobooks as possible, from bestsellers to timeless classic. Subscribe and stay tuned for new upload.
36. The Mystery Donor. Although the students who had donated more than $100 were invited to go on stage to speak, none of them were very enthusiastic. After all, most of them had donated the money to help the poor mountain village children and not simply to boost their reputations. After the hostess finished speaking, a few people took the initiative to go up onto the stage and say a few words. None of them wanted to accept credit for their donations, and as agreed, all of them praised the student who had donated $130,000. Darren was one of those who walked up to the podium. He said, "Look, I want to criticize someone for giving a single dollar and then being proud of it, claiming to have donated money as if he had made a great contribution to the children of the mountain village. We should all learn from that student who donated more than $100,000. That person is not only rich, but also of very high moral standards. I only donated $350 to the mountain village children. I'm nothing compared to him. And if possible, I want to express my admiration to him in person." Because Darren thought that the student who had donated $130,000 must be much richer than him, and from an influential family, he intentionally tried to flatter him from the podium so that when he saw him later on, he would be able to befriend him. Alex felt his stomach churn as he saw Darren's fawning expression on the podium. Luckily, he hadn't mentioned his name and didn't go up on stage. Otherwise, he would be making a quick exit right now. When he finished speaking, Darren walked off the stage. The others were all moved by his words, and one by one, they condemned the person who had donated a single dollar and praised the one who had donated $130,000. One person jeered, "The fool who donated $1 still had the cheek to brag about it? How embarrassing. Who can tell me who this person is? I'll hit him right now," another called out. One female student said, "I want to meet that student who donated $130,000. I bet he's awesome." Hearing the discussions around them, Darren laughed proudly. "Alex, did you hear that?" he said. "Everyone's scolding you, you scum." When no one came up to speak at Darren's invitation, the host started to move on to the next segment. "All right, we'll begin taking pictures of everyone together on stage. Due to the restrictions of the venue, we can only invite the 30 students who contributed the most to come up to have their photos taken. Please forgive us. Those students that can't come up on stage, I'll announce the names next," he said and went on over to call them. Darren, $350. Dan Willis donated $500. Shane Farnham donated $500. "Darling, I've missed you," Donna said to Darren excitedly, holding onto his arm and shaking it vigorously. "I also want to go up on stage and take a picture, my love. Can I go with you?" Donna wanted to get into the group photo, show it to her class committee, and gain credit for herself. That way she would have a huge advantage in the scholarship evaluation at the end of the term. This group photo would be useful in many ways. "Why not? I'll just tell them. Let's go," Darren replied. Then he walked on stage with Donna's hand in his own. "Sorry, our space is limited. We're not allowed to bring others up for the photos. Please forgive us," said Emma, the girl who was responsible for maintaining order, as she stopped Donna. "Please, let's make a deal between us. No one will know if you don't tell them," Donna whispered to the girl with glasses, but she was still tactfully rejected. "Get out of the way. Who do you think you are? How dare you stop me?" Darren arrogantly pushed Emma aside and pulled Donna over. "It's a miracle that someone like him would even donate money to a mountain village," Emma muttered angrily as she rubbed her arm. At that moment, when the host announced the last 3 people, the atmosphere had reached its peak. "Liam Walsh, please come up to the podium. Liam donated $1,500. The girls in the audience were buzzing. Watching Liam walk onto the stage, they all cheered, their eyes filled with passion. "Toby Ford, please come up. Toby donated $1,500. Toby walked onto the stage. "I love you, gorgeous. You're the best," one of the young women shouted out. "A rich man doing something to help others. That doesn't happen too often." To attract the attention of the rich and eligible young men, The girls in the auditorium shrieked. The atmosphere was like a pop concert. Of course, everyone was also excited about finding out who this super rich man was who had contributed over $100,000. Next, let's invite the student in the first place to step up. His donation is $130,000. It was as if the hall had exploded. Some people covered their mouths, while others widened their eyes. Some even stood up from their seats to search for their classmates in the hall. $130,000. Most parents can't even make that much money in a year. When Donna heard that someone had donated $130,000, her heart was in turmoil. She was thinking, if only I can get to know this super rich guy and get him interested in me, then I'll dump Darren without a second thought. Everyone was searching for the rich donator, but no one stood up. The crowd looked excitedly at the host, asking him to announce that generous donor's name. That student didn't leave his name when he donated the $130,000, the host explained to everyone. One girl said, "No name? That's proof that these rich young people only wanted to help the children of the mountain village, that they weren't doing it just to boost their reputations. Their morals were high." I want to meet this rich guy. He's my dream man, thought Donna. "Buddy, if you're here, please get up on stage and have your picture taken," the host said as he scanned the audience. However, no one stood up. Everyone assumed that the rich donor wasn't there. They were all disappointed. Alex, who was sitting in the last row, covered his face with his hands and heaved a sigh of relief. However, he also felt a little guilty, as if he had tricked everyone. The host began to arrange for the people on the stage to stand and have their photos taken together. It was cramped, with everyone standing in a row, facing the photographer who was below the stage. Darren had given the least money, so he and Donna could only stand on the very edge. Donna stood very close to the right side of the stage. They moved a little bit to the right. She thought she might be pushed off. Finally, everyone stood up. Donna tidied her hair, put her arm around Darren, and smiled proudly. She sneered deliberately at Debbie, who was sitting at the foot of the stage, and said to herself, "Debbie, my man can take me on stage to have my photo taken. You can only watch me from the audience. Yet you're so delusional enough to think that you can find a richer man than mine, aren't you? You've got no chance. I'll always look down on you." At that moment, Donna felt like a queen looking down at the lowly Debbie. By this time, Alex wanted to leave. After all, the event was coming to an end. He held Debbie's hand and started to move toward the door. "Wait!" Alex had just taken 2 steps when an excited female called out to him in the hall. He slowly looked toward the direction of the voice, and his heart couldn't help but skip a beat as he thought, "Oh no." The person calling him was the girl with the ponytail, Laura, who had been there the day when he had donated the money. When she saw Alex, her hesitation quickly turned into excitement. She ran toward him, grabbed his arm, and said loudly to all the students, "Everyone, he's the one that donated $130,000. All eyes were focused on Alex. Was this guy, who was dressed in street vendor clothes, rich or something? They still couldn't believe it. Someone had started to question the girl on the spot. "I know it for certain. I was the one who met him that day, and my companion even took a photo at the time. If you don't believe me, look for yourselves," she said as she brought out the photo her companion had given her and showed it to everyone. There was a lot of shouting. "It's him," one guy shouted. Another agreed. "That's right, he's the one." "Alex, you're too modest," a girl said to him coyly. Everyone now believed that he was the student who had donated $130,000. When the host found out that Alex was the one, he quickly gathered everyone to escort him to the stage. "We've finally found out your true identity. Thank you so much for giving $130,000 to the children in the impoverished mountain village. Can you tell us your name?" The host put the microphone near Alex's mouth. Now he couldn't even hide it if he wanted to, so he stopped pretending. "My name is Alex Ambrose," he said softly. "Oh, so it's Alex Ambrose. This name sounds like it belongs to a wealthy and distinguished family. He's a good and noble young man. Let's express our respect for him, everyone." The host clapped his hands, and the audience burst into applause. "Alex, Alex." His name was shouted out rhythmically by the audience. Only after 30 seconds did Alex gradually start to relax. "All right, let's take a picture now. Alex, you are the highest donor, so you stand in the middle," Emma said. "Oh, okay." Alex saw Debbie staring at him in disbelief with her eyes wide open. He asked the host beside him, "May I bring up a friend with me?" "Of course you can," the host answered without thinking. Alex thanked him and walked onto the stage holding Debbie's hand. "Everyone move to the side," Emma requested. The other students started to move out of the way for Alex and Debbie. Donna, who was standing at the edge, had almost lost her place. "Miss, why don't you come down now? I can't let you stay," Emma said to her. "No, I need to be in the pictures," Donna replied arrogantly. When they heard that Alex was the super-rich student who had donated $130,000, Donna's and Darren's jaws had dropped. No matter what, they couldn't accept that fact. Donna was outraged as she thought to herself, "When it was me that was going to be in the photo, you guys didn't say anything at all and even criticized me behind my back. Now it's Debbie's turn. Look at your stupid faces. You're idolizing Alex now. Now you're telling me to get off stage, sit down and watch Debbie have her photo taken? What's this? I, Donna, have always been the one looking down on Debbie. Even if I can't beat her this time, I'm not getting off the stage for her to take my place." Seeing Donna's angry expression, Emma frowned helplessly. She moved a chair over and placed it next to the stage and said, "If you want to be in the picture, you can stand on this chair. Otherwise, you'll have to leave." Seeing that there was nothing else she could do, Donna agreed and stood on the chair below the stage. She comforted herself that at least she wasn't worse than Debbie, but she didn't know that she had already become a target of public ridicule among the audience. "That girl's ridiculous," laughed one student. His friend agreed. "She's half a body lower than the others. She looks short. What a dope. She's so desperate to be in the photo even standing below the stage. Her stubbornness is crazy, I'm telling you," said another student. Episode 37. Who's Telling the Truth? Donna thought that Debbie was too pretty as she watched lots of boys staring at her longingly from the audience. They were all talking about her beauty and her modesty. "Everyone smile at the camera," said the photographer. Donna was not even in his viewfinder. After the photos had been taken, the host asked everyone to leave, but stopped Alex and Debbie. "Alex, please wait a moment. As the highest contributor, everyone is curious about your situation. Have you got a moment to talk?" "Alex, please accept this interview," shouted one admirer. "I want to know more about you, handsome," another girl said. The audience began to cheer for him. All right." Alex had no choice but to agree. He held Debbie's hand and stood in the middle of the stage. "Alex, can I ask, is this girl your girlfriend?" The host asked a gossipy question at the beginning. Everyone was waiting for Alex's answer. "That's right, she's my girlfriend," Alex replied and held Debbie's hand more tightly. He was feeling a bit nervous, afraid that Debbie might publicly reject him. However, when he saw Debbie smile shyly and lower her head, the fear in his heart was lifted. In the audience, the girls were sighing heavily. "Alex, can I ask, why didn't you leave your name after the donation?" "It's very simple. The purpose of my donation is to help the kids in the village, not to help my reputation. Also, $130,000 isn't a lot of money to me, so leaving my name wasn't important." After he said this, the girls in the audience burst into cheers of praise. One by one, they shouted Alex's name loudly. Each time he looked at them, they felt elated. "That's great. Please forgive me for being so bold, but you're so rich. Why don't you wear nicer clothes? And your girlfriend does dress well," the host said. Alex was embarrassed, and he replied, "I'm from a rich family, but I don't think I have to wear designer labels just because I'm rich. On the contrary, I feel more comfortable in basic clothes. As for my girlfriend, I love her and enjoy buying her nice clothes." "You're too charming. I can't help but fall in love with you myself." "Last question. You're so understated. In your life, has anyone ever misunderstood you?" Alex's gaze fell on Donna and Darren, who were sitting in the audience. His lips curled up into a smile. "There is someone," he replied. Alex was not a vengeful person. He preferred to sit and discuss things, but Donna and her boyfriend had gone too far just now. Not only had they insulted him, but they had also maliciously slandered Debbie, and this made him extremely angry. There was one guy who told me in front of everyone that I'm a loser, and said that I can't even afford to eat in the cafeteria. His girlfriend said that my girlfriend isn't fit to wear clothes from the Autumn Beauty Boutique, and that the two of us are conceited. When Alex finished speaking, the audience indignantly turned to look for the couple that Alex had talked about. "We want to know who they are. They sound like they deserve each other. This speaks stupidity, and the woman's mouth is cheap," one student said. Someone else called out, "Alex has donated $130,000. He's awesome. If you have the guts, stand up now and tell us how much money you donated." "You better not tell me who those losers are. I won't be able to control my fists," another shouted. At that moment, Donna and Darren were so angry that their faces turned bright red. They wanted to stand up and shout at Alex. But when they saw the excited crowd around them, they became nervous. The host spoke to the crowd. "This kind of person is the trash of Preston University. Please don't take what he said to heart. Most of us know how well Alex treats people. Thank you for chatting with me. Come on, everyone, give a big cheer for Alex and Debbie." There was thunderous applause from the audience. The students genuinely admired Alex and envied Debbie for being with him. What a great catch. Just as Alex and Debbie were about to walk off the stage, a girl came up to them from the entrance of the hall. She sneered as her sharp eyes locked onto Alex's face, and she said, "Alex, you've got nerve." Alex was slightly surprised to see her. He smiled wryly in his heart. Why is Kathy Fairweather haunting me like a ghost, he wondered. The others in the hall were outraged by Kathy. At that moment, everyone heard a loud voice shouting at her from across the hall. "Alex is such a cultivated and noble person, yet you have the guts to come here and criticize him? You're shameless." Kathy pretended to ignore the voice as she continued to walk toward the stage with a cold smile. Now she understood everything. She was furious with Alex. She knew about his generous donation and told herself, he donated $130,000 just to show off in front of me. This money was in his attempt to win me back. Seeing Alex and Debbie standing in the middle of the stage and accepting the crowd's cheers and admiration like celebrities, Kathy was heartbroken. Alex had been her boyfriend. She had rejected him, and Debbie was just a peasant who had stolen him. Kathy simply couldn't accept that they were better than she was. She gave a cold snort toward Alex and Debbie. Then she snatched the microphone from the hostess and said loudly to the audience, "Fellow students, you were all tricked by Alex. He's not from a good family at all. He is scum." The audience, of course, did not believe her. They all told Kathy to stop talking nonsense, but she was not flustered at all. "On the day of Alex's donation, I was by his side. The fact is, he pretended to donate $130,000 to show that he was generous in front of me and wanted to win me back. If he did donate $130,000, it wasn't his family's money, but the money he won from the lottery. If you don't believe me, you can ask this girl if what I said is true." Kathy looked at Laura. "It seems it could be true. That day this girl was by Alex's side," Laura whispered. That convinced everyone. "So what this scum just said now was a lie? He's not from a top family at all. I think he's just a poor scum loser," one of the students said. "So that's why he donated money, to impress beautiful women. What he said just now sounded so genuine. I can't believe we've seen through his lies so quickly," another shouted. Another called out, "So he won the lottery. Look at his clothes, he looks like a beggar. If he had money, he would buy himself some decent clothes. He must be stupid, right?" Hearing everyone scolding Alex and Debbie, Kathy, Donna, and Darren felt very smug. "Can I just say something?" Alex calmly said to the audience. Someone from the audience replied, "We don't appreciate your tricks, so what else do you have to say? You're just a liar and a loser." Kathy butted in. "Everyone listen to what this loser's going to say in case he claims we're bullying him." She knew that no matter what Alex said, it wouldn't change the situation. She crossed her arms over her chest and raised her eyebrows at him. Alex cleared his throat and said, "I've decided on the spur of the moment to donate another $130,000 to the poor villages." No one could believe it. A total of $260,000? How could Alex, a sophomore, have so much money? Everyone's first thought was that Alex was desperate and saying the first thing that came into his head. Forget about $130,000. I'd be surprised if you could take out even $500 today, one guy shouted. Kathy didn't take Alex's words seriously. She had already worked out that Alex couldn't have a cent left out of the $150,000 he had won. The others agreed with Kathy. Alex ignored everyone and asked Laura for the account number for donations. He called the customer manager of Metro Skybank, Robert Miller, and asked him to transfer $130,000 to that account. At that moment, a staff member rushed onto the stage and whispered a few words into the host's ear. The host's expression changed dramatically as he looked at Alex in surprise. He did donate. Just now he transferred $130,000 to the school account. The donor is indeed Alex, the host said excitedly to the audience, his head shaking as he held the microphone. The audience looked at Alex like they were looking at a god. Although they were in the same hall as him, they felt that Alex was a person who was way out of their reach. Alex, do you have any thoughts for us to share? The host was holding the microphone attentively. Looking at Alex's handsome face, the women in the crowd couldn't help but want to kiss him. Actually, to me, the amount of money I donated doesn't seem that much. I just hope that it can be used to help the kids in the village. Alex glanced at the stunned Kathy and continued, Of course, I don't like it when people maliciously fabricate rumors about me and insult me. The audience burst into applause. One girl shouted, This is the magnanimity of a super rich gentleman. You can't tell me that Alex is a loser. I'll never believe you. Alex is so handsome and he's rich. He's so perfect, another cried out. Just now that horrible woman criticized Alex. That was terrible. She even said that he was chasing after her. Ha! Are you still pretending that's true? Another said to Kathy. Now Kathy had become the target of public criticism. A large number of girls rushed over, pulling at her hair and her clothes, leaving her in a miserable state as she was pushed out of the hall. Alex and Debbie had become celebrities and were surrounded by the crowd. But when everyone was distracted by the girls chasing after Kathy, Alex took advantage of the moment, and he and Debbie quietly left the hall. The girls chasing Kathy soon gave up and stopped running. Episode 38, The Theft. After getting away from the other students, Alex and Debbie walked toward Ramsey Lake. It was almost dark by now, and the ink-like dark clouds on the horizon set off the calm surface of the lake, making it seem tranquil and distant. Debbie held onto her bag as she walked, looking deep in thought. What's wrong? Alex asked, concerned. I never realized that you're from such a rich family. Debbie didn't look at him as she replied. She looked at the lake with a small smile that was full of disappointment, bitterness. Are you mad with me for lying to you before? Debbie, believe me. The reason I didn't tell you is that I was waiting for the right time. I never wanted to hide it from you, Alex hurriedly explained. His words moved Debbie a little. At the same time, she became even more confused. I know, but... Debbie hastened her steps and sat down on a rock by the water. She picked up a few stones and threw them aimlessly into the lake. But what? Do you doubt my loyalty to you? I can prove it to you right now. Alex was very anxious. He couldn't figure out what Debbie was thinking. That's not it either. She turned to Alex and stared into his eyes. You're from such a rich family, and I'm just a girl from a poor town in the Northeast. I don't deserve you at all. When I think about how I went and bought rotten fruit for you to eat, I feel ridiculous. Debbie thought about what she had just said, and she felt that the last 10 days of her life had been like a dream that had now ended. She stood up and was about to leave, deciding that she would not have anything more to do with Alex. But Alex couldn't let Debbie go just like that. He tried to take her hand, but she walked too fast and pulled away. However, she also found it impossible to leave and quickly ran back toward him. He hugged her and though she tried to snuggle free a few times, refused to let her go. "Let go. The difference between us is too great," Debbie said as Alex held her in his arms. At that moment, her heart was confused. If he had just been a normal student, she knew she would want to grow old with him. Alex didn't say anything. He just looked at her quietly and laughed softly. Only then did she glance at him. "What are you laughing at?" she asked. When she saw the smile on his handsome face, she felt confused and angry. "Even now we're talking about something so important and you're still not taking me seriously," she thought. Alex replied, "I was wondering what you were so worried about. You're worried that you're not worthy of me. How about this? Tomorrow, I'll go to my family and tell them that I won't inherit any of my family's wealth and that I won't need their financial assistance. Then you won't have to worry, will you?" "Are you crazy?" Debbie couldn't help but crying out when she heard his absurd idea. "I'm not crazy. I don't care about my family's wealth. You're all I care about," Alex said seriously. "Are you still going to leave me?" At that moment, Debbie was moved by Alex's words, and her heart warmed. "When did I say I didn't want you anymore?" She lowered her head and whispered shyly. Her words made Alex's heart race. As he slowly moved his lips closer to hers to kiss her, Debbie realized that she was extremely nervous and wasn't sure what to do. Just when Alex was about to feel her breath, Debbie used her finger to cover his restless lips. "You have to promise me first that you won't give up your inheritance." She would never forgive herself if he made this ridiculous decision because of her. "All right, I promise." Alex was excited, and he continued to move his mouth toward Debbie's. Her lips were so thin, so soft, so sweet. Alex kissed her and felt like he was in heaven. The more he thought about it, the more he wanted time to stop, letting him forever be immersed in that moment of warmth. They kissed for a long time until Alex reluctantly let go, realizing that they had to return to school. As they started to walk away from the lake, Debbie noticed a reflection in the glass. She walked over to check. It turned out to be a phone. The SIM card had been removed, and the information had been deleted. "I don't know if someone's accidentally lost this phone or if they threw it away," she said, holding it up in her hand. "Someone didn't want it anymore. Can't you see that the SIM card's gone and the data on the phone's been deleted? Debbie, why don't you keep it?" Alex had wanted to get her a new phone for a long time, but because of her pride, she'd been reluctant to accept. This phone looked better than Debbie's, so he thought she should keep it. "I can't. What if someone's lost it?" Debbie laughed as she looked at Alex and said, "I'll keep it for now. I often come to Ramsey Lake, so I should be able to find the owner. If no one claims it, then it's mine." "That sounds good," Alex replied, and they walked toward the cafeteria. Just then, everyone in Alex's class group received a text message. It was from one of their teachers, Mr. Berkeley. It read, "Everyone goes immediately to room 1302 for a meeting. You're not allowed to take a leave of absence, or you'll be deducted grade points." Debbie received a similar message telling her to go to a different room. It seemed that something had happened at the university. Alex and Debbie parted ways, and each headed to the room where their class was meeting. When Alex arrived at the classroom, the rest of the students were already there. He saw Ben and another friend, and went over to take a seat with them. "Hey, Alex, look at Darren and Kathy. They're usually so cocky. I don't know what's wrong with them. They're like zombies today. They didn't even mock me when they saw me just now. I wonder if they forgot to take their medication," Ben said in amusement. Alex glanced at Darren and Kathy. When the two of them met his gaze, they looked away quickly. Alex smiled slightly. It seemed like he had given these two quite a shock earlier. Just then the teacher, Mr. Berkeley, walked in hurriedly. He looked very nervous, and the students tactfully stopped talking. However, they were very curious. What had made him so anxious? "Students, something awful happened today." Mr. Berkeley cleared his throat and solemnly said, Your botany teacher, Mr. Morgan, who was also the school's financial administrator, had managed to increase the school's new internship fund to $350,000. He's just informed us that today someone stole his bank card and account code, took all the money. When Mr. Morgan found out that the money had gone, he collapsed and was rushed to General Hospital, where he's still receiving treatment. If anyone knows anything about this matter, report it to me immediately," Mr. Berkeley said from the podium. Hearing these words, the students in the classroom exploded into chatter. They never thought that anyone could do anything so awful to Mr. Morgan. Hearing that he had lost $350,000, they were all worried about their teacher. They were all thinking, $350,000? If we can't find it, will Mr. Morgan be going to jail? Alex was also shocked. The first thing he thought of was how he could help Mr. Morgan. "Mr. Berkeley, how about we raise the money through crowdfunding?" Alex suggested anxiously. "Crowdfunding? Trust you to think of that. If we started a crowdfunding platform, what are we going to say we're raising the money for?" Mr. Berkeley replied. He had always disliked Alex. He continued, "Should we write, 'Because of personal error, we've lost $350,000. Now we're relying on the public for help.' What do you think of that? Alex, Mr. Morgan had always been good to you. Why would you do that to him? Luckily, Mr. Morgan's not here. He'd be infuriated with you if he'd heard what you said." Other people joined in to criticize Alex. One said, "Brainless idiot." "Why do you think this person is so stupid?" Another agreed. "He wants to frame Mr. Morgan, right? He doesn't care about people at all. He's lucky that Mr. Morgan treats him so well." Alex wanted to help Mr. Morgan as quickly as possible. He thought that if they raised money online, he could donate $350,000 to him anonymously through the crowdfunder. But hearing Mr. Berkeley and the other classmates' words, Alex's mind cooled down a little. He realized that his idea probably wouldn't work. "All right, everyone, remember this. If you have any leads, report to me immediately. The meeting is adjourned," Mr. Berkeley said, and then he left the classroom with a sour expression. Alex walked out of the classroom and found Debbie. The two of them walked along the path on the campus, discussing the situation. "Last semester, it was Mr. Morgan who helped me with the poverty grant. He's looked out for me. Why did this have to happen to him?" Debbie frowned slightly as she worried about Mr. Morgan. Mr. Morgan had helped Debbie a few times, and she cared about him. Looking at the pained expression on her face, Alex was even more determined to help him. "Alex, how about we go and see Mr. Morgan together? He must feel helpless in the hospital right now," Debbie suggested as she looked at him. "Debbie, you go first. I have some things to do. Say hi to Mr. Morgan for me and tell him not to worry. The situation will soon be resolved." Debbie was a bit disappointed that he didn't want to go with her to see Mr. Morgan, but she trusted him and believed that he must have something he needed to do. So she nodded and made her way to the hospital by herself. Alex, meanwhile, had decided what he was going to do to help. He had decided to leave his teacher a note saying, "Mr. Morgan, I'm sorry. I'm the thief who stole your money. Now that I've been found out, please send me your bank account number via Facebook, and I'll transfer the money to you." Then, when Mr. Morgan returned to his desk from the hospital and found the note, Alex would transfer $350,000 to his account and everything would be resolved. He had made up his mind. After class, he would head directly to Mr. Morgan's office. Meanwhile, Mr. Berkeley had been working in his office when someone knocked on his door and opened it without waiting for a reply. The girl walked in, swaying her hips and with a wry smile on her face. "Kathy, it's already so late. What do you want?" Mr. Berkeley asked. However, Mr. Berkeley was wrong in his assumption. He watched Kathy close the door. Then, she clearly couldn't hide her excitement as she said, "Teacher, I know who stole Mr. Morgan's money." Episode 39, The Undeniable Proof. "Oh?" Mr. Berkeley was interested. The school had promised him $15,000 if he could catch the thief. "Who?" he asked. "Alex." Kathy spat out the name. When Mr. Berkeley had talked about the stolen money earlier, a thought had occurred to her. Did Alex take the money? Alex used to be a poor loser who couldn't afford a decent meal, but lately everything had changed. He took Emma to a posh restaurant for $1,000 meal and donated another $130,000 without hesitation. Is this something a loser like him could ever afford to do? Alex had said that he'd won $150,000 on the lottery, but he's already spent more than that. Where did he get the money? Kathy had not been able to figure it out. She thought, but now everything's clear. It must be Alex that stole Mr. Morgan's money. Ugh, Alex, you idiot. You were stupid enough to show off the stolen money in front of me. You've been enjoying yourself, haven't you? But just wait. This time I will ruin your reputation for good. Why do you think it's him? Do you have any evidence? Mr. Berkeley was still confused. Kathy sneered and told Mr. Berkeley about Alex's extravagant behavior the last few days. Mr. Berkeley, not only did Alex invite Emily to DeLuca's restaurant for a meal worth $1,000, but he also bought 6 or 7 items of expensive designer clothing for his girlfriend at the Autumn Beauty Boutique. That adds up to more than $10,000. And Alex also donated $130,000 to the Mountain Village charity. It's true, Mr. Berkeley responded after listening to her explanation. He was shocked. The total was over $140,000. How could that poor student Alex afford all that? But he didn't dare just take Kathy's word for it. He needed more proof. He immediately called Luke and Darren to see if they would corroborate her story. They both backed up what Kathy had said. Alex had spent well more than $100,000 in the last few days. Mr. Berkeley was now almost certain that Alex was the person who stole Mr. Morgan's money. Mr. Berkeley, let's hurry up and call the police to arrest him. Kathy's eyes flashed with viciousness. Don't worry, I'm taking this very seriously, Mr. Berkeley replied. He was an exceptional teacher and shrewd. He thought carefully for a few minutes and said, Let's go to the General Hospital first and speak with Mr. Morgan to find out exactly what happened. Once we have more evidence, I'll call the police. All right, let's go now, Kathy urged him. If the police spoke to Mr. Morgan before they did, they might arrest him. Mr. Berkeley drove the car quickly toward the hospital with Kathy in the passenger seat. Meanwhile, Debbie had been sitting beside Luke Morgan in his ward. Her face was tense with anxiety. Mr. Morgan, how can anyone be so evil to steal this money? And why would they frame you? She questioned. Debbie was fretting on Luke's behalf. She looked extremely worried. Luke, on the other hand, looked fairly relaxed. He seemed calm and composed in the blue and white hospital gown, although his face was still pale. He touched Debbie's face and smiled gently, comforting her like an older sibling. Debbie, don't worry about me. I'm sure we'll find out who did this. Seeing Debbie nod her head in confusion, Luke decided not to talk about these sad things with her. His gaze fell upon her clothes. Debbie, you and I have known each other for a long time, but I've never seen you as dressed as beautifully as you are today. Someone else bought me these clothes. Debbie lowered her head shyly. Someone else? It's a man, isn't it? Luke asked with a playful tone. Debbie blushed as she softly replied, Mm-hmm. Luke said, Little Debbie has grown up. Seeing you looking so happy, I can tell that you and your boyfriend have something really special. He held Debbie's small hand. And to be able to afford to buy you clothes from Autumn Beauty, it seems that this young guy must be doing well for himself. He continued, Debbie, since you two like each other, you must take good care of each other. Do you understand? I know. Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Debbie's eyes were filled with determination. At that moment, the door to the ward was pushed open. Kathy and Mr. Berkeley walked in. Why are you here? Kathy frowned and asked when she saw Debbie. Who's this girl? Mr. Berkeley asked. She's Alex's new girlfriend, Kathy replied as she crossed her arms and looked at Debbie with a cold smile. She continued, I know what she's here for.
I bet she's here to find out Mr. Morgan's secrets so she can report back to Alex.
That's right, this girl is determined to help Alex in his crime, Mr. Berkeley agreed.
What are you talking about? Asked Luke. What crime? Did you find out who it was?
He was completely confused.
Mr. Morgan, do you know who stole your $350,000? It was Alex Ambrose from our class.
As she said this, Kathy started to feel exhilarated.
Alex Ambrose? That's impossible. He's not that kind of person.
Luke shook his head.
He knew Alex was poor, but he was sure he would never do such a thing.
Kathy replied,
Mr. Morgan, don't be fooled by him. Do you know how much he donated to a charity? $130,000. How do you think Alex could come up with that kind of money?
When Kathy finished, Mr. Berkeley backed her up. That's right, I've already asked the school for confirmation. Alex donated $130,000 today.
And?
Kathy's sharp gaze shot toward Debbie.
She's Alex's new girlfriend. Look at her new clothes from Autumn Beauty. And that's not the only one. She's got loads of new clothes. They must have spent a few $1,000s there. Where do you think he got all this money from? No, you're framing Alex, Debbie interjected. You would never do something like that.
She looked at Kathy and Mr. Berkeley. Luke looked at Debbie and asked,
Debbie, is Alex your new boyfriend? And did he buy you these expensive clothes?
He was anxious. If Alex had bought Debbie's new clothes, then he had to wonder where the money had come from.
Go on, tell us. Are you really in love with Alex? Deny it if you have the guts, Kathy said and smiled smugly.
Yes, Debbie answered, and she nodded toward Luke. Luke closed his eyes and leaned weakly against the back of his bed.
Ha! Mr. Morgan finally believes it,
Kathy laughed loudly. She looked at Debbie with eyes full of venom as she pulled out her cell phone.
I'm calling the police now so they can arrest both of you two criminals. You'll be going to jail.
Debbie was furious.
Why is Kathy always looking for trouble with Alex? She asked herself. I'm convinced Alex didn't do anything wrong.
Kathy had already tapped 911. Just as she was about to press the call button, Luke spoke up.
Don't call the police. Mr. Morgan, you...
Debbie stuttered. Luke interrupted her. I still believe Alex and Debbie. Plus, there's no evidence that Alex took my bank card and stole my money. In Luke's eyes, Alex and Debbie were two very honest students, and he just couldn't believe that they would do that. Mr. Morgan, try to calm down, Mr. Berkeley advised. Kathy and I came here tonight to ask you in detail about how you lost the money. Please tell us what happened. Luke replied, I keep my bank card inside the protective cover of my phone, and the PIN is written in my notebook. Yesterday I couldn't find my phone, so I immediately went to the bank to freeze my account, and that's when I found out that the money had been stolen. Debbie's heart lifted when she heard him saying that he had lost his phone.
She thought, I bet it was the phone that I found in the grass by the lake earlier.
Subconsciously, she touched her pocket. Her action was noticed by the sharp-eyed Kathy.
What do you have in there?
Kathy asked, and she reached into Debbie's pocket. Ignoring her protests, she took out the phone. Seeing the phone in Kathy's hand, Luke's eyes widened.
Why is my phone in your pocket? He asked Debbie. Debbie was so nervous that she didn't know what to say. Mr. Morgan, listen to me. I found this phone in the grass.
Kathy retorted.
You're still denying it. If you found the phone, why were you so afraid of us seeing it?
Kathy pressed her.
What do you have to say now? We've caught you with Mr. Morgan's phone. This is solid proof. You and Alex are in on this together. No, we're not. You guys are making a mistake,
Debbie said helplessly. Right now, she didn't know what she could say to convince them.
I'm making a mistake. What a joke, Kathy laughed arrogantly. Then where do you think Alex got the money from? Why don't you tell us how you got this phone? Alex's family has money. His family are rich.
Debbie tried her best to explain, but she couldn't stand up to Kathy. All right, Kathy, don't push her anymore. Luke hugged Debbie to his chest with a pained heart.
All right, I'll leave her alone for now. Kathy glanced at Debbie with disdain. Now that one of the criminals has been caught, the other criminal will be even easier to find. Let's get back to school to find Alex. All right, Mr. Berkeley agreed. Before he left, he called his class monitor and told him to get some of Debbie's friends to come to the hospital so that she wouldn't leave. Mr. Berkeley and Kathy drove back to the school as quickly as they could. During this time, Alex had sneaked into Mr. Morgan's office without being seen. He quietly walked to the teacher's desk and stuffed the written note inside the title page of a book on the desk. Just as he was turning to leave, the door opened, and Kathy and Mr. Berkeley walked in. Alex was as shocked as they were. He had not expected to be discovered. Luckily we checked the monitor, or we would have missed him, Kathy sneered as she looked at Alex. Let me see what this scoundrel is doing. Mr. Berkeley walked to Mr. Morgan's desk and started leafing through the book. Crap, thought Alex, and his chest tightened. He watched as Mr. Berkeley pulled out the note he had stuffed inside the book. What's this? Mr. Berkeley opened the note and read aloud, Mr. Morgan, I'm sorry. I'm the thief that took your money. Episode 40. Honestly, I'm rich. Alex, what do you have to say for yourself? Mr. Berkeley asked as he held up the note. The truth isn't what you're thinking. I was trying to help Mr. Morgan by writing this note. All Alex could do was try to defend himself, whether they believed him or not. It's written so clearly on this paper, yet you're still trying to argue. You are dumb. Kathy sneered as she looked at Alex. Now she was feeling good. Swindling Mr. Morgan out of $350,000. You'll serve 20 years for this. Kathy took out her phone and started to call 911. Mr. Berkeley stopped her and said, Wait a moment. Let's take him to the hospital and confront Mr. Morgan with that girl. We'll see if he dares to face Mr. Morgan. Mr. Berkeley grabbed Alex, afraid that he would try to run away. Hearing that Debbie was also involved, Alex became afraid. Debbie's such a delicate person, he thought. How will she ever cope with this? He didn't think about his situation at all. He only wanted to get back to Debbie's side to protect her. Mr. Berkeley escorted Alex to the school gate, got him into his car, and they drove straight to the hospital. By this time, Mr. Morgan's ward had become quite crowded with students. They had heard that the money had been found and had decided to come to the hospital themselves to find out more. Of course, Darren and Donna were also there. They had heard that Alex was the thief, and they had come to gloat. As Mr. Berkeley escorted Alex inside the hospital, the students started calling out. One said, Hey, isn't that the rich guy who donated all the money? Alex, you're so gorgeous. You're my idol. Can we talk on Snapchat? Said another. Another girl called out, Alex, I love you. We'd look so great together. Give me a chance. A small group of female students ran up to Alex and tried to grab his attention. Darren and Donna rushed over, and Donna said to the girls, Are you all dumb? What a bunch of idiots you are. It was him that stole Mr. Morgan's money. Darren backed her up. It's true. That scum stole $350,000. All he cares about is money. The students started to believe Darren and Donna. One said, Ah, you stole the money from Mr. Morgan? You scumbag. Another joined in. That money was to build up the internship program, and you took it to spend on yourself and your girlfriend. You sleazebag. I hope they catch you, or Mr. Morgan will be blamed for the missing money. Mr. Morgan's such a good person. He's your teacher, and this is how you repay him? In no time at all, the girls had turned against him. They were angry, and some even punched Alex a few times. Although it was painful, Alex didn't feel it at all. He didn't try to defend himself as his mind was focused on worrying about Debbie. He had a bad feeling. He was sure that these people were capable of treating Debbie as cruelly as they were treating him. Ignoring the punches and kicks and insults from his classmates, Alex strode into Luke's ward. When he entered the ward, he couldn't believe what he saw. Debbie was sprawled on the ground, surrounded by a circle of people. Her hair was messy, and there were traces of saliva on the top of her head. There were even a few gray footprints on the new beige dress that he had bought her. Debbie. In his heart, Alex blamed himself. He hadn't protected her properly, and he was furious. You scum, I'll kill you all. Alex was about to throw a chair at the other students. He looked deranged. Debbie stopped him. She cried, Alex, no! He stopped and looked at her. His eyes were red and he was shaking. A small smile appeared on Debbie's battered face. Don't fight with them. Just tell them that you're not the person who stole the money, and then get me away from here. Okay. Alex put down the chair, walked to Debbie's side and hugged her. He gently tidied up her messy hair as if there were no one else in the room. The others were scared of his temper, so they kept quiet and watched. Oh, wow. These two scumbags are showing us how much they love each other. Kathy crossed her arms and walked over to Alex and Debbie with a proud smile. Alex, tell me, where did you put what's left of the stolen money? Quickly, hand over the details. I didn't touch Mr. Morgan's money. Alex didn't even look at Kathy. He was still fussing over Debbie. Even now you won't admit it. Kathy then took out the note he had written. Mr. Morgan, everyone, look. When we found Alex, he was writing this note. The words on it explain everything. After the students finished reading the note, they handed it to Luke. He didn't want to believe it, but he couldn't deny what he was reading. He was heartbroken. Alex? This is... Mr. Morgan, I wrote this on purpose to help you. Alex started to explain. Kathy burst out laughing. Ha! You know that's bullshit. She looked at Alex with a sneer and continued, Tell us, if you didn't steal it, where did you get the $130,000 for the donation and the money to go out for expensive meals and to buy designer clothes for this peasant? Go on, tell us. She continued, Are you trying to say that you won all that money on lottery tickets? Bullshit! Who the hell would believe you? Kathy was determined to make sure that everyone hated Alex. Alex thought, Previously I had to hide my identity to avoid problems. But now it seems that hiding my identity has made these people despise me even more. And I've even caused Debbie to get beaten up. What's the use of hiding who I am any longer? He said, It's true that I didn't win the money in the lottery. He helped Debbie stand up and looked at Kathy with a faint smile. This money is all mine. My family is rich. When Alex finished speaking, everyone in the ward was stunned for a moment before bursting out in laughter. Kathy laughed and said, Alex, is that all you've got? Can't you think of anything better? With that image, I think you should really be a screenwriter. She didn't believe him at all. If you're rich, then I'm super rich. Maybe you should call me Lady Kathy, she joked. Alex replied in earnest, I'm one of the richest people in the world, and you're still being rude to me. You'd better watch out, or my family will destroy yours. The others didn't take his words seriously at all. Alex was really angry. This bunch of arrogant kids, he thought. They have no idea who they're talking to right now. With a single word from my father, their entire families could vanish into thin air. He looked around at the people present and said, Listen to me. You have no idea how powerful my family is. Everything you eat, all your clothes, everything you use at school, all your medical treatments, even your cars and houses, even the buttons you've got on your clothes, they've all come from my family's businesses. I advise you to keep your mouths shut. The others burst into laughter. In their eyes, Alex was a raving lunatic. What's this idiot saying? One of the students said. Is he trying to make me die from laughing too hard? Is he distracting us so he can run away? Hurry up and record it on your phones. Alex is going to be famous on social media. No one believed Alex's words. Only Debbie knew he was speaking the truth. One of the teachers from the student affairs office approached Alex and advised him, Alex, the school has already recovered the $130,000 you donated. As long as you hand over the rest of the stolen money, I can assure you that the school will treat you with leniency. I'll say it again. That money is my own money. I never touched Mr. Morgan's money, Alex said coldly. He thought, Okay, if you insist, I'll show you who my family are. You have no idea. With this in mind, He took out his Sky Metro Bank Supreme card from his pocket and held it up. This is my Sky Metro Bank Supreme card. In my account, you'll find I have around $20 million. If any of you don't believe me, you can take this card and look for yourselves. If anyone dares touch a single cent of this money, I'll guarantee you'll regret it. Alex's card looked cool, and no one there was rich enough to have a Supreme card. They had heard about them, but had never seen one. Have we made this kid go completely crazy? One student asked. Another responded, Don't you need $3 million to use the Sky Metro Bank? If he wants to play Let's Humor him, it'll be entertaining. The hospital has a card machine. Let's go right now, another suggested. The card machine was quickly brought to the ward. Kathy personally held the Supreme card and prepared to try it. Alex stood calmly at the side and watched. He was thinking, I can't wait to see their reactions. When they see the amount of money in the account, they'll be stunned, and I'm sure they'll all start sucking up to me then. They'll soon know how stupid they've been and how badly they've treated me and Debbie. Alex entered his PIN. But instead of displaying $20 million, a few words flashed across the screen. This account is temporarily unavailable. Kathy said sarcastically, Oh, right. This is the Metro Skybank Supreme card, and it doesn't even work on the card machine. The others also mocked and ridiculed him. What can this be? Alex wondered. He couldn't figure out what was happening. I've used my card in the last few days, and it was fine. A few days ago, I even bought a villa at Green Island Garden. He quickly called the customer manager of Metro Skybank, Robert Miller, to ask him about his account. Sorry, Mr. Ambrose. Your card is connected to your family's account. Half an hour ago, your card was restricted by your family. I'm sorry, but you can no longer use it. My family? Alex thought. But my family's only just given me access to my money. Why have they stopped me from using it again so quickly? Alex was shocked and confused. He called Mark Stevens. Mark, what's going on with my account? Alex asked urgently. Mark was also troubled. It's like this, sir. In the short period since you've had access to your money, you've already spent almost $200,000. Although this is not a huge sum of money, some members of the family think that you haven't yet matured enough to have access to your account, so it's been temporarily frozen. But don't worry, I believe that it should be released again very soon.
Thank you for listening to Crown TV. Please don't forget to subscribe, share and turn on the notification button.